not found. Justice mean inequity. So who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Christian can say silence. Islamic leaders silence. Kings and queens silence. Traditional leaders silence. So who go say the truth? We are the workers of comfort call. Now by area, why no better? We are the workers of comfort call. One guy's out here, why no better? Who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Oh, he needed to know see what I see so. Now your friend on a night come at them. Only papi obeka na sembia. So I want to bet you too. Everybody was afraid. And until I to my cottage again, once my boy dumping one and I see. But who go tell the truth? Nanai or say me. Nanso bien person beka wasam because everybody is afraid. Aya safwe muayini. Aku drop on yina dalima. And see who go say the truth? Obiaja konson so to cross your mansa to me be a cacobrafo. Efo anyina ye. Efo when you know yet. Na so kutrata down na so be dia back or why no keke. I fene for be man mo pia for efo ne cross on my mo. Hanya safwe mo ayini. Akuku drop on you na dalima. And who go say the truth? Abaya di bote chino. Yedi bi bebo nyande bi. Kachisa would your mouth pipinuma. Would your mind never shine my frafonsa? But who go tell the truth? DUC silence. Even journalists silence. Oh, then who go say the truth? Right is right. Wrong is wrong, no matter how you justify. You say you wanna get rid of corruption. Someone want to help you, now the person become your target. Jobless no they mean senseless. Poverty no they mean useless. One day them go resist.
John Dramani Mahama, and your mommy Professor Nana Jane Opoku Ajiman, and who sent no Najibedia, the Sainty, the French chapter woman wing, in collaboration with the French chapter executives, present the role of the diaspora in building the Ghana we want. Date 22nd June 2024. Venue 18 Rue Laveneve 93800. Épinay-sur-Seine, France, Paris. Guest speakers: Honorable Johnson Esiedun Katia, the National Chairman; Honorable Fifi Fiavikote, General Secretary; Lawyer Barbara Asamoah, Deputy General Secretary; Honorable Alex Segbefia, and the Deputy Dr. Carl K.M. Ahin, International Relations Directors. Afe, Ahin Fomudio Monyonya Betajube Diechini, Nana Ansa Sasaraku III, Chief of the Ghana Community, Paris, France; Nana Donko Bejina, Ghana House of Chiefs, Paris; Nana Aponsa, Nana Num Ekukudam, Paris; Honorable Osamensa, GCCP President, Paris, France. Afenso, Omwa Jumadi Esiomunansuni, Freeman Akurugu, Chairman, NDC France Chapter. Esanse Jumadi Efa Mounty, Yatuyan Safre, Yaya Mame, Dr. Miss Hannah Louisa Bisil Kote, NDC National Women Organizer. Afe Yaya Mame, Najat Azu, France Chapter Women Organizer. On a Jumadi Esinasu de Dende. For enquiries, call these numbers: 075 030 2910 or 076 709 3265. You can also call 075 182 0992 or 069 55 85 778.
Good evening and welcome to yet another edition of MyView show here live on Today Ghana News TV, where every Monday evening we do well to give you the best topical issue as there is in relation to political events, social events, or economic events as they happen in Ghana and Africa and the world at large. And this evening is no different. But before we delve into the events of this evening and the topic for today, I would like us to take one moment to reflect over the events that happened on this very day, the 3rd of June, about 9 years ago. That's the year 2015 in Ghana and Accra, to be precise, where on the 3rd of June 2015, Ghana was saddled with a flood that led to other events, including a fire event that claims the lives of more than 150 Ghanaians. There were several other casualties. So many properties were destroyed and damaged in the process. And 9 years down the line, I think it is befitting for us to take a step back and reflect on the events that happened on this day and ask ourselves some pertinent questions, important questions. What are the triggers to the event that happened on the 3rd of June 2015? What has Ghana learned from them? As we sit today, can we confidently say as a nation that we have benefited from the disaster that happened, such that it would not happen again today or a few years down the line? I say this and I ask us to reflect and ponder over these things, because they say that a people who do not remember their history are bound to relive them all over again. So today, as we start this show, this is a food for thought and a matter that ought to be reflected over. However, this is not a topic for discussion today. This is not a topic for discussion today because that is not the only event that ought to be reflected over and pondered over in Ghana. There is yet another matter that ought to be reflected over, and that is the events that happened tomorrow, several years ago. That is on the 4th of June, several years back. You know, as a country, there are some things that happen that are watershed moments that define the course of every nation's history moving forward. And as we have come to know, the 4th of June happened to be one of those watershed moments. If anybody was conscious of what happened in Ghana, or the events that happened in Ghana prior to the year 2021, the person would have known that on the 4th of June every year prior to the year 2021, that day was marked as a public holiday. Well, on the year 2021, it was repealed by Parliament, and it ceased to become a public holiday in Ghana. But that has not deterred a section of Ghanaians to continue to commemorate the events of that day. But more than 10, probably close to 20 years since it's repealed, or more than 20 years since it was repealed as a public holiday, to the effect that some people still commemorate it, it is only safe for us to talk about it and to see what is the relevance. Why do these people keep insisting on commemorating this day? In fact, which year did this happen? What happened? What necessitated it? What are the lessons that have been learned from it? Is Ghana better off with or without it? These are the complex issues that need to be answered. And as usual, when we have complex issues, we always fall back on people who can resolve them and resolve such complex issues. So today, we are joined by a good friend of the show who joins us anytime we have things that are so difficult for us to wrap our heads around, and is able to break them down for our understanding and the understanding of our viewers and listeners. And I'm referring to none other person than Dr. Richard Richmond Seth Abbey. Well, if you are a regular viewer of the show, you would, like I said, you would know that Dr. Smart Abbey is a friend of the show. He's not new to the channel, and he's a man of many hats. And depending on what the topic is, he chooses to wear them or combine all the hats together. When I say he's a man of many hats, he's an author, he's a political analyst, he's a governance and security expert. He's also a traditional leader, and if I'm not mistaken, he's also a man of God on top of all of that. So today, I don't know which of the hats he's wearing for this show, or that he's putting on all of them. Either way, you can be sure that with his wealth of knowledge and experience, we are safe. And on this note, I would like to welcome Dr. Smart Abbey to the show. Dr. Smart Abbey, welcome to my...
Oh, sure. I'm happy once again to be on your show. My pleasure having me. It's a pleasure having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. And talking about thank you for joining us, I would like to acknowledge our listeners on Sakina Information Center who join us every Monday evening on Sakina Information Center in Tetali in Northern Ghana. I also like to say welcome our listeners on High FM 3.7 in Achunhimai in the Eastern region. I also like to welcome our listeners on the King's Radio in Accra, and to all our listeners and viewers on all social media platforms, referring to our viewers on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn, as well as any other network of your choice. You are warmly welcome to today's program. Dr. Smart Abbey, before we start the show, as you know, it's a typical and traditional of us to always touch base on you to find out how you are doing. We know the situation in Ghana can be quite volatile, but as we talk currently, how are you doing?
Well, God's grace have sustained us, yes. We are living in most difficult situation here in Ghana because of the economic indicators. It's not the best. And we are hoping and we are praying that things will change so that there will be good policy frameworks from leadership of this country that will have direct impact on what sustainable livelihood development of the Ghanaian people. As it is now, we are really at the crossroads because of the economic hardship, high cost of living, high fuel hikes, high cost of food, stuffs and groceries and whatnot. And most of all, the depreciation of the city is making life unbearable for many Ghanaians who are now living in abject poverty. Sometimes you may not want to understand why certain should happen, why government cannot hold to the principle of social contract, because sovereignty resides in the people and it emanates from the people. So wherever you are as a leader of a country, it's a social contract. It's the people that put you there. You would always have to apply the social theory of need that you give to the people at the point of need, not when you think the people need what they need. So, in fact, Ghanaians deserve better. Ghanaians deserve good governance, not the unbridled corruption that we are seeing from this leadership. And the events of today, may I say, could be same or even worse than in the events of what that led to the June 4 uprising. Thank God that we are in democracy and no Ghanaian is interested in overthrowing the state or the constitution. Every Ghanaian is looking up to the Zema 7th to take a decision about what is happening in this country. So the revolt goes on as we remember or we commemorate the 45th anniversary of the June 4. It is expedient for Ghanaians to understand that the events of June 4 has returned to our body politics. So can I say it has made the entire principle of June 4, that is probity, accountability, honesty, transparency, and social justice, as they be defeatist, because we don't see none in our body politic as we speak. Corruption.
Yes, Dr. Smatabi. So far, counting from from your initial response, I think I have counted about 5 times that you have mentioned June 4th. June 4th is just a year on the calendar. Which year are we referring to when we talk about June 4th?
That's 1979, my year of birth. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. I wasn't born yet. Like I said, 1979. I hadn't come into existence yet. So I think this would be as much of an education to me as it will be for most of our listeners and audience as well. So now, let's talk about the events of June 4th. Don't go into let's leave out the details and the antecedents because we'll talk about that. But on that particular day, the event that is being talked about. What is the event that happened on the 4th of June, 1979?
Okay, so it still comes back to the historical antecedents. Yes, to know about the event. What it means is that June 4th, 1979 uprising was a revolt by the armed forces of Ghana, yes, to address the ills of what? The Ghanaian society that arose out of what? Combination of factors, yes. It was a combination of factors that led to the move for such as high cost of living, economic hardship, social repression, and there was this what is called kalabule that led to high inflation of goods and services, and then there was unbridled and institutionalized corruption among the military hierarchy that was leading the country. So there was this event where the elite class of society and the ruling military hierarchy that had promised to transform the Ghanaian economy by implementing social policies, yes, a program that will have direct impact on the livelihood of what the ordinary Ghanaian and would alleviate poverty and economic hardship on what the Ghanaian people. That was the basis to which the Ghanaian, the ordinary Ghanaian at that time, was looking up to the leadership at that time to turn things around for them. But the military junta, that was the Supreme Military Council one, led by General Kutu Acham, yes, and the Supreme Military Council 2, led by General Akuf. So that was the Palace School. You remember, Supreme Military Council was led by General Achampong. And then in the event where the council realized that things were not going well for Ghanaians, Akufu took over the mantle from General Achampong to address the challenges of what? The Ghanaian people. So that was what happened. So in the circumstance, what happened on June 4 was not a revolt, it was not a revolution, and it was not a coup d'etat. And if you can permit me to give you the why I mentioned uprising, it was an uprising. Uprising means public uproar from the masses. So it is not a coup d'etat because a coup d'etat means that a military government overtaking or overthrowing a civilian government. So that is a coup d'etat. And then a revolution is about changing ideology or philosophy or direction of a country. So we can talk about socialist ideology and we can talk about capitalist ideology. So you can talk about the Cuban Revolution, where the government of Jean-Baptiste was a capitalist-oriented, how do you call it, government. And the government of what? Fidel Castro overthrew a capitalist regime to establish a socialist regime in Cuba. So that is a revolution. But this particular one is an uprising, what we call it popular uprising, because the people themselves were those who overthrew the military junta with the support of what? The general ranks of what? The military. So the June 4 was led by the mutiny of 15th May 1979, where some junior officers of the army who were relentless to represent the voice of the masses toppled the SMC, Supreme Military Council 2, that's led by General Acham, General Akuf. So the mutiny failed that day. The mutiny failed. The mutiny of 15th May failed. And exactly. So the officers who were involved, including the generalists, like may so rest in peace, were arrested and put before trial at the martial court. Their main concerns was the corruption among the high-ranked military government, whilst majority of Ghanaians continue to suffer under economic action and what? Abject poverty. So the event that birthed the popular uprising was as a result of what? Bad governance, to which citizens were subjected to economic hardship, social repression, high unemployment rate, amidst high cost of living and institutionalized corruption among the high-ranked military leadership. So during this period, there was shortage of foodstuff, like I mentioned earlier on, groceries, many products were not available on the shelves. There was shortage of foodstuff, groceries, like I said, and the emergence of kalabule. People were ordering common goods like milk, tinapa, sardine, and all of that, you cannot find them on the market. And if you want them, you have to pay high prices for these products. So there was no middle class at that time. So the uprising sought to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor in society. So in the light of this, the mutiny and the popular uprising, which attracted academia, students, market women, professionals and teachers, doctors, lawyers, civil society organizations, and the grassroots sought to tackle these ills that had crippled the Ghanaian economy by bridging the gap between the rich and the poor, like I mentioned. So when the mutiny failed, the gallant officers, like I said, including Rawlings, were put before trial. But my brothers and sisters, let me establish one historical fact here. And it sets the record straight. The climax of the trial was that the state prosecutor, in every trial, there is a state prosecutor. The state prosecutor who was responsible for the prosecution of Rawlings and his men on the charge sheet re-echoed the spirit of the mutiny rather. So the state prosecutor who was now supposed to prosecute Rawlings and his men was rather defending what Rawlings and his men were agitating for. So what happened was that on the charge sheet, he gave reasons why these officers had to take that step to topple the government of General Akuf. So when he read the charge sheet, he said this. He said this to the military junta, that's the court, the master court. He said that, Mr. President, the first accused, Rawlings, had for a long time felt disillusion about injustice in our society, like we see today, more particularly the Achiampong regime. So when in July 1978, when the SNC was reconstructed, so we realized that the public uproar began in 78, not even in 79. So because of the public uproar, the Supreme Military Council was reconstituted to at least bridge the gap between corruption and good governance. So when it was reconstituted with the removal of Achiampong as what head of state, Rawlings thought things were going to improve, but to no avail. And when Rawlings realized that there was no improvement in the general condition of the Ghanaian people, he was struck with dismay and lamented over what he termed as what the tarnished image of the armed forces. So Rawlings regretted that at the time when the military junta was about to hand over to a civilian government at that time. So the military now wanted to hand over to a civilian government at that time. The armed forces had done little to what? Turn things around for Ghanaians. So Rawlings and his colleagues facing trial rather want the support of what? The state prosecutor. And one prosecution witness confessed that Rawlings had declared that he was ready to die for his colleagues. And when Rawlings was given the opportunity to speak, what he did, marvelous on that day, was that he owned the mutiny and told the court that, leave my men alone, I am what? Responsible. So this statement Rawlings made turned the trial against the military government rather by accusing it of what? Massive corruption and requesting that his fellow accused be set free. So Rawlings' trap, Rawlings' anger and that resonated with the entire nation as there was massive suffering, utter poverty and economic hardship within the Ghanaian society. So in the night of 3rd June today, 45 years ago today, around this time, while Rawlings and his peers were incarcerated for sentencing, junior officers, including Boachijan, broke into the jail where Rawlings was being held and freed him and ostensibly marched Rawlings to what? The national radio station, GBC, to make announcement of AFRs, that's Armed Forces Revolutionary Council takeover, and requested that all military officers meet with them at the Nicholson Stadium at Albert College, Birmingham. So the entire nation on that day went uproar. That was when the entire nation went uproar with the slogan, power to the people, power to the people. So the senior military officers and the military junta that were involved in corrupt practices in those days, including General Achiampong, Akufu, General Kote, General Otuka, my in-law. General Otuka happens to be my in-law. Yes, that's my aunties, my uncles, in-law. Yes, my uncles in-law. May so rest in peace. General Fifa, and they were all put before what? Court martial, and subsequently executed by what? Firing squad, when they were pronounced guilty of all charges preferred against them. So let me also state one historical fact here. So what happened when these generals were shot was thought like they were picked from their houses and sent to firing squad to be shot. Although I condemn such brutalities and killings and all of that, it isn't like they were picked from their houses and shot. They were sent to a court of competent jurisdiction at that time, where they call it court martial. They presented their case, they were defended by their lawyers, and they were what? Pronounced what? Guilty. So for people to label Rawlings as a murderer or a killer is quite harsh, because he didn't order the killings of these military men. They were sent to court, and court pronounced them guilty. Like in a democracy, we call it death sentence. So in a decree, in a military junta, we call it firing squad. So they were sent to firing squad and they were killed. So those were the excesses of the event. But the event itself was what? Initiated by the state prosecutor. So if I should say who caused the mutiny, or who caused, how people call it, how they call it coup d'etat, or it's not coup d'etat, but who caused the uprising isn't Rawlings and isn't the military. It was the state prosecutor who caused the uprising, because he changed the entire, how do you call it, the process of the judiciary against the military government. And that energized the masses to now support the military to take over from the SMC, how do you call it, government of General Akufu. So this is the historical antecedent of
yes, Dr. Smatabi. We say that they say in history, there are usually several storylines in history, and that depending on which voice is the loudest, that is the one that gets told. There is another voice in this whole account that says that in that narrative, that actually, contrary to the uprising, the narrative of the uprising, that it was actually a failed coup d'etat by junior military officers who were not just disgruntled with the system and the economy, but were disgruntled because they were paid less, and they were fighting for their conditions of service, and not for the general population. And that whatever that happened subsequently was a matter of they fighting for their personal interest, their greedy interest, and that the only reason why they happened to be an uprising was because during the trial, like you said, the Marshal was able to, who himself, I guess, was a junior officer, was able to spin the story around against the senior officers, and that has come to become what we know today as June 4th uprising.
Okay, there is a bit of distortions in submission. Yes, I would want to hear the word uprising. Yes, because I have defined a coup d'etat for you. A coup d'etat is when a military government, a military junta overthrows a civilian government. So you can talk about a coup d'etat in 1981, but in 1979, it was a popular uprising. It was a military government overthrowing another military government. The AFRC overthrowing the SNC two, led by General Akufu. Okay, then let me come to the historical antecedent of what you even mentioned. You see, one part of it is that, yes, at that time, the tarnished image of the military was at stake because there was corruption among the military hierarchy. Didn't you hear the monies that were seen or mentioned in Achampon's foreign accounts and all of that? After his death and all of that, you remember the money he kept at World Bank and all of that. There was corruption. That was one part. And the military officers, the junior officers at that time too, even to find common uniform, my brother, to wear was a problem. You can look at the pictures, and if you have some of the pictures, you can see the uniforms that some of them were wearing. Some of them have to go to Katamanto in town to buy their own green material, to sew their own uniform, to buy their own Wellington boots and all of that, to fend for themselves, belts, berets, and all of that. They were doing it from their pockets. Whilst the senior rank were living in what? How do you call it? The elite class and the whatever, the higher class and all. They were living lavishly. But the circumstance that I mentioned is that all these junior ranks were also citizens. They are also civilians after they removed their uniform. But the general condition of the state was paramount. Nobody can deny the fact that there was unbridled corruption at that time. Nobody can. My brother, we are talking about a society where you cannot even get one tin of milk to buy. We are talking about a society where you cannot even get one cup of garri to buy. We are talking about a society where to get fuel, it will be difficult to get fuel to buy. I think there was nothing available to the citizens. So what happened was that people were ordering products at Mokola. You get my point? If he has milk, he will hoard it. So when you are looking for milk, ordinary person like me and you can't buy. So these things were accessible to the elite class. The rich in society were those who were able to afford. Because if assuming and not assuming Ghana today, if they were to be selling milk, one tin of milk for 50 Ghana cedis, who will be able to buy milk in the middle class or the lower class? Nobody, and that was what was happening. So that's why I said it was a combination of factors, including what you have mentioned. Yes, the military, the junior ranks felt dejected because their plight was so bad, and they also wanted to also fight for their interests and whatnot. But what is paramount was the condition or the prevailing conditions in the country, where people were ordering goods and services, and they were not making it accessible to citizens to buy. You walk distance, I can tell you, people could walk from Tema to Accra to come and buy milk. You can ask anybody who was available at that time. People could walk from Tema to Accra to come and buy milk. People could walk from Tema to Accra to come and buy a tin of sardine. People could walk from Tema to Accra to come and buy fish.
Dr. Abbey, it seems you are muted. Please unmute yourself. Okay. Yeah. Whilst we wait for that to be resolved, if you are listening to us on a Sakina Information Center, or if you are listening to us on a high FM 3.7 in Achuhimai, or if you are listening to us on the Kings FM in Accra, or on any of the social media sites, this is my view show on Today Ghana News TV, where this evening we are taking a step back to look at the issues or the things that, examining the issues that happened on June 4th and try to see what lessons that we can drive from there and what can guide our movement forward. And our guest for today is Dr. Michael Smart Abbey, who has joined us to share with us the historical antecedents of the June 4th revolution and the events that happened therein. And he has given us a historical account of what happened. And he has given us a vivid picture of the events that happened on the day itself. Before we move forward, before we move forward, Dr. Abbey, one thing which supports your account of the fact that the events of June 4th, 1979 was a revolt or revolution rather than a coup d'etat was the fact that the events of that day had a lot of popularity amongst the university students, lecturers, and a lot of people in Ghana. And so there was the historical accounts is that there was spontaneity in the uprising in Ghana, and in different locations in Ghana, be it from the south, the middle, or the north, there was spontaneity in the revolt against the system, and people were pouring out on the streets to show their disaffection to what was happening at this current moment. Is this, Dr. Abi? I think we still have a problem with your sound. We cannot hear you properly. If yes, probably you can try using the your headphones. Maybe it works that way. Yes. So Dr. Abi has given us a historical account of the events that happened on the June 4th, and we are trying to pin down on some of the things that happened on the day itself. Because history tells us, it gives us a clear narrative of what happened on the day. And Dr. Smart Abi is trying to help us to understand and appreciate the events that happened on the day. So, Dr. Smart Abi, what I was saying is that what we are told is that this was not something that was done by the military government alone, but that it was something that was joined in by, well, you said there was no middle class, but, probably around that time, the closest we had to the middle class were people in the academic institutions. And these people were part of the people who were calling for the change. And actually, they were the people who were calling for let the blood flow, prior to the so-called excesses that happened. Are these the things you refer to when you talk about the revolution? Dr. Abi, it seems we still have a problem with the sound. It appears we still have a problem with the sound, and we are unable to hear you. Yes. So so we're trying to find out from the onset of the program. Dr. Smart Abi has always insisted that the events of June 4th were not a coup d'etat, and he tried to distinguish what a coup d'etat is from what a revolution is, and per the definition he has given. He says, he comes to the conclusion that the events of June 4th, 1979 were not a coup d'etat because it was not a military junta that was trying to overthrow a civilian administration, but rather an uprising from the people themselves who took their destiny into their hands and who demanded change, and a change in ideology of the system. And so this is what he has tried to distinguish between what a coup d'etat is and what a revolution is. And so we would like to press on with Dr. Abi. Dr. Abi, welcome back. Our sound is still disturbing us. It's still disappointing us. Okay, so what will happen is that we'll take a short break. Dr. Abi, if you probably refresh your system and join us again. But while Dr. Smart Abi is doing that, let's take some messages from our viewers and listeners who have joined us today in this discussion. As I said, let's say a big thank you to our listeners on Sakina Information Center in Tatali in Northern Ghana. Also, a very big thank you to our listeners on High FM 93.7 in Achunhima in this region, to our listeners on the Kings FM in Accra, and to all those who are joining us on social media. This is my view show here live on Today Ghana News TV. And we are joined by Frimpong Buffy as usual. Good evening to you. He says, good evening, and you are watching from Akuse near Somenya. Ghana is retrogressing under Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. Well, this is where the conversation is leading to, and we will try to draw the linkages between the events that happened before the June 4th revolution and the events as they are happening today, and to see whether we have, as we say in Ghana, whether Did we go or did we come? But before we get there, we will try and see whether Dr. Smart Abbey can join us. Yes, the next comment comes from another of our yes, the same comment from Frempom Buffy, who is joining us from Akuse near Somenya. Yeah, and he's saying that Ghana is retrogressing under Akufo-Addo. MMTV, you see, second coming of JM. Well, MMTV, well, let's see. Maybe it's Boateng, you see, you are watching with your family from Lisbon, Portugal. Democracy has made nonsense of the June 4th uprising. Thieves and criminals have gathered under the disguise of democracy and civilian rule. Well, if you have been following the discussions from what Dr. Smart Abbey has been saying, the events, as he say, are not quite different from the events that happen under our democracy as we see today. So I guess you are not very far from true. Sekapa TV, you see, I still remember the communal spirit of the June 4th among the civilians during Rawlings era. And you are watching on YouTube from Jumapo near Koforidua. Thank you very much, Sekapa TV, for doing the watching as always. MMTV, you've joined us again. You see, GM is the Moses of our time. Thank you very much for joining us, MMTV. Kwasi Insia, you see, Doctor is a man of God. I follow him on Facebook. I live his biblical message. He should think of preaching also on this channel. Well, when Dr. Smart Abbey joins us, we'll try and pitch that idea to him and see how much he will buy into it. Patience Dako, good evening, Patience, as always. Good evening, you say you are watching from Hamburg, Germany. Thank you very much, Patience Dako, for always joining us every Monday evening on MyView show. Ghana Ahimfie, how are you doing? You say, oh yes, I remember the term Kalebule. Rawlings really did a lot of good work to transform Ghana from the rot and decay. Well, as to whether Ghanaians appreciated what he did at the time and as to whether they really appreciate what he did today, it's left for posterity to judge. Ghana Ahimfie, you come back again and you say you are watching from Bososo in Frantiakwa South District. Thank you very much, Ghana Ahimfie, for always joining us. Jaframa TV, you see the people militia were stationed at Urara at the time. We cannot forget June 4th revolution. Rest well, J.G. Rawlings. Thank you very much, Jaframa TV, for your message. Kwaku Ivo, you say, I'm really enjoying the deep history of June 4th. God bless Dr. Abbey. You are watching from Suhum in the Eastern region. Thank you very much, Kwaku Ivo, and thank you for always joining us on MyView show every Monday evening and for sharing your comments as well. If you are watching the show and you are liking you are enjoying the history, as Kwaku Ivo have just said, it probably makes sense for you to also share the link with others so that tomorrow when people talk about June 4th and people don't know what they are talking about, you can share this link with them so that they can also get informed. Like I said, people who do not remember their history, they are bound to repeat it again. Fans TV, you say you are watching from Aflao Volta region on YouTube. Doctor need to write a book on June 4th. As I said in my introduction, Doctor is an author as well, and I think this is probably something that he probably is likely to take on board. Justice Aji, you say, G, keep going, Doc. Thank you very much, Justice Aji, for joining us. Frima Oyi, good evening to you. You say this is deep history. Kudos, Dr. Abbey, and you are watching us from Manthi near Ho. Thank you very much, Frima Oyi, for always joining us. Jame, boy, good evening to you, popular tea seller. You say greetings from Nkwanta in the Oti region, and of course, you are the popular tea seller at Nkwanta Lorry Station. You are live on Adelema Information Center in Tutupene and KJB. Thank you very much to you, Yao Boy, for always joining us, and thank you to all our listeners on Adelima Information Center for joining us every Monday evening. And as I said, this today, 3rd of June, as we mark the 9th anniversary of the June 3rd disaster that happened in Circle in Accra, we are also having a discussion on the events that happened on the 4th of June 1979. And our guest for today, Dr. Michael Richmond Smart-Abbey, has joined us to give us some public education on the matter and to try to get us to understand what happened, not just to understand, but also to appreciate them as well. Thank you very much, and welcome back, Dr. Smart-Abbey. Dr. Smart-Abbey, I don't know whether I'm the only person who is facing the problem with the sound, but I still cannot hear you. Let's get some comments from our viewers. If anybody can hear, and I'm the only person who cannot hear, please draw my attention so that probably maybe the network is from my side. Yeah, but as it were right now, we still cannot hear Dr. Yeah, we are still unable to get through to him. We can see you clear, Doctor. We can see you are talking. Unfortunately, the sound is not being transmitted. I'm not sure what the problem is. Yes, Kwasi Insia says we can't hear him. Yeah, so Dr. Smart-Abbey, it looks as if we still have a problem with the sound, and I don't know. Maybe yeah. Let's go around and let's see probably whether we can check on his mic, and then we would rejoin us, and then we would take some lessons, and then probably draw the show to an end. Yes. So as I was saying, as I said before, yeah. So the events of June 4th are things if you listen to the narrative that Dr. Smart-Abbey has given us, he talks about shortages of essential goods at the time. He talks about cost of living. He talks about inflation. He talks about lots of lapses in governance at the time, which led to the failed coup d'etat or coup d'etat by the junior military officers, and which led to their arrest and imprisonment. And in the course of them undergoing, trial, some other junior military officers broke them of jail, and which launched the revolution of June 4th, 1979, which ushered in the PNDC at the time. They say, well, we have come to know them as PNDC 1. And I say PNDC 1 because there was a PNDC 2 that came shortly after the PNDC 1. No, I think that was AFRC, right? Dr. Abbey, can you hear me? We still cannot hear you, but I think I'll be happy if Dr. Abbey can correct me on that. I think the first time, 1979, was AFRC, and they are the ones who pioneered the revolution in 1979. That subsequently, in accordance to their promise, handed over power to the PNC government that was led by Dr. Hilary Mann. That was when Dr. Hilary Mann was brought down to contest for the elections that happened in I think that was in the elections that happened after the AFRC, and Imoro Igala, who was the leader of PNC, was disqualified from partaking in the elections, and he brought down Dr. Hilary Mann to contest on the ticket of the PNC, who subsequently won the elections and were sworn into power or sworn into government. Well, as part of the processes, we are told that Dr. Hilali Man, or the leader of the PNC, promised to continue with the house cleaning exercise, which is some of trying to, tidy up the system. But according to some people, according to the people who came back after the PNDC, who came back during the PNDC, one of the things they say was that the PNC did not continue with the house cleaning exercise as they promised. And also, we are told that Imoro Igala, who was the leader of PNC, passed away. And that because Dr. Hilali Man was not much of a politician, and that he did not have a lot of political grip. He didn't have grip on the political atmosphere and events within his party. It led to a series of events that most people would say that it appears Hilali Man lost control over events in his political party and in Ghana at large. Well, this is what we are told resulted in the second coming of J.J. Rawlings, this time under the umbrella of the PNDC, which eventually led Ghana until the year 1991, where we went back into democracy and then had a constitution and moved back into democracy in the year 1992. Dr. Smatabi, welcome back. We hope right now. Yes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Thank you very much, Dr. Smatabi. We can hear you loud and clear.
Nice one. We thank God. 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 Yes. So let's pick up the lost time. I can see people are really interested in the issue, but I read the comments and we'll put things together. Probably a book should come out because I have that historical, prowess to decipher what actually happened because I've researched into various regimes of Ghana from independence. So one way or the other, maybe at the tail end of probably not really my career, but then with time, I'll bring out a book on that so that people get to know about
we can't wait. We can't wait. We can't wait to the tail end of your career. You are a young man. We can't wait that long.
That is it. So let's pick up the lost time. So the event of June 4, and its success story cannot be overruled in the annals of Ghanaian politics. So admittedly, although there were excesses of the June 4, like you mentioned, the event served a purpose for the good of the Ghanaian people. The event of June 4 birthed the principle of probity, accountability, honesty, integrity, and social justice, which are all tenets of democratic development of any sovereign state and social contract between government and citizens. So this was because at the time of the popular uprising led by the good people of Ghana, there was deep-seated corruption within the military government. Like today, as there is deep-seated corruption at the doorstep of the government, there was political operation, there was economic mismanagement, there was arbitrary price increase of goods and services to mean inflation rate, hoarding of essential goods by corrupt citizens. Because at the end, like everybody was trying to do whatever it wants to do to survive. So the system created survival of the fittest. So if you cannot fit into the system, you cannot survive. So there was indiscipline in society as well. And these principles of the June 4 uprising are democratic tenets, which every government should uphold. So these principles of the uprising mentioned above sought to sanitize these prevailing conditions of economic mismanagement and unbridled corruption by the military leadership of General Akufu, who toppled Achampon. Hence,
the event ended the dark days which Ghanaians found themselves. So there is a success story of that event. We don't have to scandalize the event, but rather we have to learn from the event. After all, it is the June 4 that birthed the Fourth Republic. And you cannot take it. The same June 4 that birthed the PNDC, and that led to what? The 1992 Constitution. So although the AFRC was short-lived by transferring power to a civilian government, that's how do you call it, Ila Liman's government, to continue with the political reforms and social and economic reforms, it came back in the 31st December coup d'etat. So it is the 31st December 1981 that is coup d'etat. And why is it a coup d'etat? Because it was a military government that is overthrowing or that overthrew a civilian government. So according to that event, they believe that the civilian government could not continue with the reforms that Ghanaians were looking for. So the second coming of the Provincial Defense Council sought to entrench the principles of the June 4 uprising, which is the probity, accountability, honesty, integrity, social justice in the body politic of Ghana. So there has been much commentary about this coup as unjustifiable because it toppled a civilian government. But the leadership of the PNDC, led by John Rawlings, proved critics wrong beyond reasonable doubt by entrenching these principles of probity, accountability, honesty, integrity, and social justice to core in the body politic of Ghana by addressing the challenges the country was faced at the time. So the PNDC implemented what is called the Rapid Populist Approach Mantra through the Structural Adjustment Program, which incorporates agricultural revolution, bridging the infrastructure deficit, economic recovery program, as well as the educational recovery program. Because around that time, even there were short of teachers. Teachers were going to Nigeria, doctors were going to Nigeria, professionals were going to Nigeria to work. Because the conditions, the prevailing conditions in Ghana at that time was at its lowest, that nobody could even want to stay in Ghana at that time. And that was the time Ghanaians traveled to Nigeria the most. So this economic recovery program yielded dividends. The IMF gave Ghana the first bailout of economic from our economic hardship, and cited Ghana as one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. So the infrastructure gap at that time was reduced by rapid expansion of electricity, water to rural communities. It lessened rural labor migration, and there was railway development, which we saw John Rawlings himself partaking in construction of railways in the cocoa farming regions or communities. So agriculture was at its peak, and professionals such as teachers, doctors who had fled Ghana to seek greener pastures abroad they have fled to Nigeria and other countries to seek greener pastures, all had to return to Ghana to what? To help in nation building, because that system created a conducive environment for people to now see that there is what? Transformation and structural reforms in what? The direction the country was what? Going. So what it means is that through this adventure of selflessness, commitment to make Ghana a beacon of what? Hope for Africa, the AFRC or the PNDC bet the Fourth Republic to entrench democratic principles in what? The governance of this country. So my stake is that we don't have to scandalize the event of June 4, but rather eulogize those who led that event to bet the Fourth Republic. And going forward, it was anticipated that the principles of our democracy will uphold the democratic tenet of what? Rule of law, holding to probity, holding to accountability, holding to honesty, holding to integrity, and holding to social justice. As me and you speak today, where is the probity? Where is the social justice? Where is the accountability? All we can testify today is the create, loot, and share mantra of this government led by Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia. In fact, my brother and my sisters who are listening to me, the principles of June 4 is defeatist in our politics. Let's accept it. And let's start from a new page and a new chapter, because we don't see anything called probity anymore. If there is probity, you can see what is happening today. We can see millions of dollars under ministers' bed. And these ministers are walking free on the street. Nobody is questioning them. And what they are rather doing is cover up. So against this backdrop, leadership today is a mere shadow of the principles that bet the June 4. The government under President Nana Akufo-Addo has failed to crack the whip on institutionalized corruption and economic mismanagement by leaders of government. We have lost the sense of responsibility, holding our leaders accountable through probity and social justice. So the purpose of June 4 uprising, like I said, has been defeated because institutionalized corruption among the political elite, economic hardship, youth unemployment, social repression, political oppression, that the uprising addressed has returned back into the body politics of Ghana. And the rented media has remained silent on these irregularities and hills of what? The Ghanaian society. That has crippled the political, social, and economic development of what? Ghana political fabric. So, under the guise of democracy, so people believe that our leaders have used democracy rather to steal. If a military government is upholding probity, accountability, if a military government is upholding integrity, if a military government is upholding transparency and social justice, and a civilian government is rather subjecting the country to what? Institutionalized corruption, economic hardship, frivolous expenditure by the executive, and etc., where are we? Where are we, my brothers and what? Sisters? So what I want to mean is that Ghanaians cannot find 1 square meal a day under Nana Akufo-Addo and Bawumia government. It is an animal farm now under this government. It's all about create, loot, and share. Ghana today is fraught with property-owning democracy principle, where politicians are amassing what? At the blind side of their followers and sharing the booty among their family members and cronies. My brother, we can talk about PDS. Have you heard of PDS? A consortium was formed within 1 month. A company was formed within 1 month to take over Electricity Company of Ghana. They collected revenue to the tune of about 600 million Ghana cedis. Today, as we speak, that revenue cannot be accounted for. PDS is collapsed, and they've returned PDS back to Electricity Company of Ghana. Have you heard of the SML, stinking SML deal? And I'm referring to the KPMG audit report. It is scandalous. And this should not be accepted by Ghanaians. And we are looking forward to 7th December. Another scandal of this government, which is grave, has to do with the Sky Train. $2 million. $2 million was given to somebody to talk free in the guise of coming to construct a Sky Train in Ghana. Have you ever seen any Sky Train in Ghana? And where is the $2 million? As we speak now, a Japan deal did not come to light. But $12 million has been paid already. And we are in court with a political figure trying to retrieve about 2 million euros from him. When you have spent such money, $12 million on a Japan, $2 million on what? How do you call it? Sky Train, 600 million on PDS. You are not going after these criminals and these thieves, but you rather sought to chase somebody whose adventure in trying to provide ambulances to the state fell short. And the company that sought to what? Provide the ambulances, saying that, look, you are dragging our company in the mud. So bring back the ambulances and take your money back. What is difficult for this government to accept such an offer than to mean that they have to send somebody to jail at all? Do you know about the snitch deal? You are selling snitch property, workers' contribution, is neat. You are selling SNIT properties to a minister of state. So where are we now, my brothers and sisters? See the Palugu Dam, $12 million, 200 million Ghana cedis has been paid to a contractor who has run with the money. He has stopped the money free. He's gone with the money. Go and see how the Northerners are suffering. No irrigation for them to what? Grow their crops. Today you buy three pieces of tomato. 3 pieces of tomato, 15 Ghana cedis, 20 Ghana cedis. If there was irrigation at Palugu, it will service the tomato farms there, and we will not be spending money to what? Import tomatoes from Burkina Faso, how do you call it? Niger and whatnot. So our leaders have what? Failed us. So the event of June 4, so the event that inspired the June 4 uprising are events of Ghana today, like I said, unbridled corruption, high inflation rate, high cost of living. The city is depreciating, gargantuan fuel hikes. We are buying diesel, 1 gallon of diesel for 70 Ghana cedis. When we were buying it in 2016 for just 14 Ghana cedis. You need 2 gallons of what? Fuel to go to town and come. So a day, an ordinary citizen has to buy diesel to the tune of 150 Ghana cedis. How much do you earn to buy fuel 4,500 Ghana cedis a month to be able to do your rounds in town and whatnot? So they have subjected us to economic hardship and high cost of living. And I am calling on Ghanaians that the flames of what? The June 4 uprising should inspire countless Ghanaians to vote for change in direction the country is going in the upcoming December 7th elections. Nana Akufo-Addo, President Nana Akufo-Addo and Bawumia has failed Ghanaians. They have totally failed the state. And I'm sad the clergy, opinion leaders, civil society organizations that were vociferous in the past, who were talking, cannot talk now. They are looking on whilst our politicians are looting the state at the blind side of what? Everybody, and amassing wealth for themselves. I don't want to talk about Achimota Forest.
let's leave that conversation for another day. Unfortunately, because of the sound, our sound challenges, we've not been able to explore the topic as much as we wanted to, but we have also exceeded our time allocation for today. Robert Kimpe, you say Dr. Smart Abbey on fire, more fire. You are watching from Paris in France. Thank you very much to Robert Kimpe and to Nana Tafremu. You see, you are greetings from Tatali, Northern Ghana, and Sakina Information Center listeners. Thank you very much, Nana Tafremu, for always joining together with the people of Tatali. As I'm Pahine Boachi, you see, you are watching and listening from Achin Himai. I guess that's in the Eastern region as well. Thank you very much for always joining. And this Diaspora Union, you see, Dr. Smart Abbey is really a smart guy. You are greeting us from Amsterdam in Holland. Thank you very much, NDC Diaspora Union. Doctor, you said Dr. Abbey usually have this problem. You are greeting us from Barcelona. Thank you very much for your observation. I guess it's something we are going to work on. Yes, so thank you very much for Dr. Abbey. Before we sign out, there was a listener who said he's been following your religious activities on social media, on Facebook, and he was wondering whether you will come on the platform to come and talk about, about religion as well.
Sure. So it's all in the hands of TodayGhanaNews TV, who has always given me the opportunity to express myself. So would arrange, and one of my programs, I'll not too long, I'll bring one of my programs, hopefully maybe next week, on your show, so that they can also have access to what I do in theology. Yes. So, like you said, I'm a Christian theologian as well. Yes, Christian theologian as well. Yeah. And I've been broadcasting on Christian programs and whatnot. Yes.
Yes, we'll be grateful, and let's work something out. Let's work something out so that you can reach out to our many listeners and viewers as well.
Sure.
And so,
Sure.
Dr. Abi, before we sign out, do you have any final words you would like to, share with our listeners?
Yeah, so the arrested conspirators of June 4, including Rawlings, stood for the will of the people. And the trial further highlighted their desire to defend the will of the ordinary citizen. So the onus rests on Ghanaians to defend the will of the ordinary citizens in the upcoming December 7th elections. The June 4 uprising speaks volumes of what selfless leadership, a commitment to serve the will of what the masses, upholding to the tenets of what social contract, social justice, and civil what liberties. As those who try to distort this truth, because people have tried to distort this, so as those who try to distort this truth, the national call for drastic change was overwhelming. The event of 15th May was an antecedent of what June 4, which brought difficulties facing the nation to the fore and challenged the youth, particularly student groups and junior ranks of the armed forces and the country at large, to take their destiny in their hands and change the narrative of the Ghanaian history, which today is suppressed by political corruption and what among the political. On the 5th anniversary of June 4, we cannot forget the event that the period ushered us into. Ghana is at a crossroad, and citizens must continue to demand for probity, accountability, honesty, integrity, social justice from our leaders and greedy politicians who ride on the back of what the ordinary citizens to enrich themselves whilst others live in what abject poverty. So as I conclude, it is important to know that the event of June 4 was not a coup d'etat, but a popular uprising that resonates well with the good people of Ghana. Therefore, the principles and trajectory of June 4 uprising, that's probity, accountability, honesty, transparency, and social justice, should inspire countless Ghanaians to vote for change in the upcoming December general elections. Ghanaians would have to change what? The narrative of bad governance to what? Good governance in what? December 7th elections. This will make politics relevant to the cause of what? The suffering masses. The onus rests on what? Civil society organizations, progressive voluntary organizations, opposition political parties, students and professionals, and Ghanaians of upright mind to join forces to change this narrative of corrupt government under the leadership of Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia in the ballot of what? 7th December general elections. My brothers and sisters, truth is one. Truth cannot be adulterated. No matter how lies runs faster, someday truth shall overcome it, because truth is life. I quote this from what? Jerry John Rawlings. It is a passing torch, and who fix it knows. I leave you in peace, and may the Lord help us all. Have a blessed.
Today, Ghana News TV, we are the masters of the game.
Well, after such an insightful conversation, there's very little to add to it. Just to say a very big thank you to our guest for today, in the person of Dr. Michael Richmond Smart Abi, who joined us to have a discussion on the events of June 4th, 1979. He took us through a historical account of it and that made us understand what happened before it, what happened during it, and what the lessons are, and what we should make of the events that happened. And so to this end, we can only thank him for the information that he has given us, and for always making time to join us anytime we call upon him to enlighten us on some of these issues. As I say, complex issues. As you see, the information has drifted between politics, social events, and economic events as well. And that is why we brought him in to give us this information. So as we thank him and we sign out, we would like to say a very big thank you to our listeners on Sakina Information Center in Teteli in Northern Ghana. Also, a very big thank you to our listeners on High FM 3.7 in Achunhima in the Eastern region. Also, a very big thank you to our listeners on the Kings FM in Accra and to all our viewers and listeners who are joining us on all social media platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram, and also on LinkedIn as well. Thank you very much for joining us, and stay blessed until we join you at the same time next week with another insightful show. God bless you. God bless Ghana. Have a good evening.
The country where I come from, the truth is irony. Just like animal farm, justice mean inequity. So who go say the truth? Who go say the truth? Christian can say silence, Islamic leaders silence.